I have one job for you.
Charles Manigault.
Please forgive me the sins of my past. Please protect us. Amen.
Not even God will protect you in here.
Turn around.
Don't you ever get tired of this job?
No. All of my marks took something from someone. They deserve to feel the pain that they caused, and I give it to them.
At the church, you let him go.
He's quicker than he looks.
You're getting too cocky.
They're coming for us. Let's go.
What's the rush? Friends of yours?
I don't think so.
Good to see you again, Manigault.
It's Isaac.
He's probably the second best assassin in the world.
Who's the first?
Me.
You saved us back there.
I still haven't decided if I'm going to kill you or not.
Cheers to that.
You know what happens next.
They're going to be coming for us.
What do we do?
I always have a plan. That's what makes me the best.
Second best.
Third best.
I'm going to finish this.
Drowning your sorrows?
You know I don't drink on the job.
By the look of it, you're not even on the job anymore. In fact, you and Manigault look real buddy-buddy. Maybe like you're working together.
I don't do partners. And I'm here to finish what I started. I always do.
You mean always did?
Hey, Annie. About Vegas.
I can't wait to fucking kill you.
I was hoping we could talk this out.
Don't.
That weekend was...
Unless you're gonna apologize, just stop.
I probably could have gone about it differently.
That's not an apology, fuckface.
Hey, as much as I'm enjoying watching you getting your balls handed to you, I prefer this not escalate any further.
Appreciate it. I see you had the same idea I did.
So, they didn't charter the plane in their real names, huh?
Bit too obvious. How'd you know I'd be here?
Well, this airport is just far enough away for a small plane to make it to Mexico on one tank. Didn't go anywhere else from there. It's the way I'd get out.
Of course you would. So is this part where you say, good to see you here, Hayden. Think we'll step aside and let you finish it.
You mean like you did at the church?
Shane Dax Taylor, how are you doing, sir?
Good to see you again. And I just we just got off the phone with Chad Law. He sends his best. Like you beat me to it. I was gonna be like, yeah, my brother, my main man Chad Law wrote this movie. All right, I gotta tell you though, sir, you have reached prestigious company. With this interview, you're now on the ACTION-FLIX.com interviewed more than once group. So congratulations there. Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I'm
No
a
worries.
long fan, as I told you last time. So
listen, I know I'm not JoeBlow.com, but you know what? I try really hard. So there you go. So it's like
no, man. I like Chad and everybody else. I mean, I grew up on action films, so I'm a fan first of your sites and and everything.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you.
Well, listen, that means the most to me when I hear people like yourselves in the industry say that. Now I got a question for you. Now, of course, I interviewed you for The Best Man, which the great movie which had Dolph Lundgren with The Hangover fighting bad guys, which was a pretty cool concept. Now I got to ask you a question. Do you have him on speed dial now? So every time you do an action movie, you're like, "Hey, Dolph, let's go. I got a movie. Let's do this."
It's one of those things like Dolph. Dolph is a force of nature, man, and it's. It's one of those things where
he just gets it. Like he shows up prepared, and he's just, pun intended, he's ready to knock it out. And it's he is a force on set, and just kind of lifts people up. But with Dolph, I'll be honest, and this is not just Dolph. Like two of my favorite scenes I've done in recent memory are in Best Man are Dolph and Luke Wilson sitting in a bar when those guys are just talking. And then in this one, when we had Dolph and Scott Martin sitting in the living room, and it's a very emotional scene. And he just showed like he's a real actor, and it's not just Dolph Lundgren, the action guy. Like he can act. So those scenes of him, it brought emotion to the films. There's a lot of action in these, but also you got to keep it grounded as well. So that was he really brings it.
Absolutely, and of course, like all the health issues he's been going through, and he kept it quiet, and he kept making movies, and nobody knew. Like that's an action star right there. That's legit. That's legit status right there.
Yeah, absolutely. No idea, especially during The Best Man. Like I had no idea he was dealing with what he was going through then, and that was kind of at the height of it. I was like, oh my God, I reached out to him after the fact when the world found out.
You're right. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So okay, so we're talking about Exit Protocol, your new movie with Dolph Lundgren. Now it's like now here you go again. Like you're like, all right, I got Dolph Lundgren, but you know what? Let's throw in Michael Jai White just because it's like so talk. Now is this your first time working with Michael? I believe because I was going through your repertoire of filmography, and I believe that's the first time. So how did he get involved, and how was it? Because I've talked to him, great guy, big fan. So talk about working with him and bringing him in.
Yeah, so this kind of goes back to how I was brought in. So this film was set to go. They were a couple of weeks from shooting, and then the director, Daniel Zerilli, tragically passed away.
I was going to ask, yeah.
Yeah. So I was, there a week from shooting, and I got a call from Daniel Cummings, the producer, who I've worked with many times. He's on The Best Man and Christmas Classic and other things I've worked with. And then Scott Martin saying, hey, would you be interested in stepping in? It's all set. We're shooting in a week. And at the time, normally under the circumstances, I probably would have, politely declined. But because of the crew I'd worked with many times, 3 or 4 times, and then the cast that was already in place. So this is the first time in my career that I didn't have a say-so in any of the cast.
Okay.
Not that I wouldn't have hired the same people. Like I'm a huge Michael Jai fan. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, I'm in, once I got the logistics of it. So, got on a flight, and then, a week or so later here, I'm, shooting a movie with these guys.
So like, again, and I cause I'm like I said, I get starstruck, like just talking to him. Like the first time Dolph Lundgren, I interviewed him, and like, and they say, oh, here's Dolph. I'm like, okay. And he's like, hi, John. I'm like, he knows my name. But I'm like, and it's just like, were you like, I'm standing in front of Dolph Lundgren and Michael Jai White. And let's give props to Scott Martin. I just had a delightful conversation with that man about an hour ago. We'll talk about him in a second, but were you just like, this is pretty cool?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll be honest. I can, it's one of those things, like I can tell you where I was when, the first time we talked, when he called me up, type of thing. And, this is directed 10 films, and he's, as an action fan, first and foremost, like he's an icon. And I mean, he showed up prepared. Like, we know what he can do as an action guy, as an action star, but also like just as an actor. Like, and he's funny. Like I cannot wait, talk to Chad Law. We could write another, action comedy with this guy.
Right.
So he's, he's a force of nature, that guy. And I'm excited I will work with him again for sure.
Awesome. So, okay. So like, I talked to Scott, and I was like, okay, so not to throw shade, right? This isn't shade, but there's been a lot of assassin themed movies coming out, especially like in the last couple of years ago. But listen, I'm like, okay, let's go. If it's got great action, great characters, great story, killing, I'm all for it. But it's like, I love the concept, because if you keep it fresh, if you do something different with it, then just makes it rise to the top even more. So I love the concept of Scott, who plays Sam Heaton. He's a killer of killers. He's the assassin that takes out other assassins. So that's a pretty cool concept. So talk about that and like what this brings to the table in terms of other assassin related films in the genre.
Yeah, it's one thing, you see assassins and they take out, so-called normal people, and it's like,
Right.
well, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
They know they're going to pull this off. But when you start with taking out other assassins who are as skilled or more skilled than you, potentially, then it just raises the stakes for Scott and what he has to, or his character, what he has to deal with in this thing. And same thing with Dolph and Michael and everyone else. So it's it was wild. I mean, these action set pieces were pretty insane. And Rooster, our fight choreographer, stunt coordinator, I mean, he brought it. And there's a scene in the film, a fight scene in a in a dungeon set. That's
we talked about that. Yeah, because it's my favorite scene in the movie, actually.
Yeah, it really is. Like he just, I mean, it's one thing because Scott's Scott's an actor, he's a producer, he's done comedy, he's done drama, he's done these things. But to see,
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we made Scott an action star. I mean,
Okay, let me cut you off there. And at the end of my interview, I was like, "You heard it here first. I am anointing you action star." And I did so I'm the first one to say, "Yep, you're an action star now." And of course, he was like, "Oh, thank you," but he is I mean, and what I like about it is because he looks like. He's probably better looking than me, but he's like an every guy. He's like the normal guy. He's not like Dolph Lundgren back in the 80s or Sylvester Stallone, because action stars back then had to have the biceps going into another zip code. But these are what Navy SEALs look like. You don't know this guy's a Navy SEAL or anything like that. They're just regular guys. He's got a good build, don't get me wrong, but it's just he could be the guy next door. But here he is. When the time comes to tussle, he's whipping some ass.
He is, man. And we touched on a little bit in The Best Man, but he brought it in this one. And he I'm sure though, if this does well, I'm sure there'll be a sequel to this one and he'll come out and fight others and deal with I was so impressed with him. And he's definitely he's got it. But I like exactly like you said, he's the guy next door that you get in a road rage incident with that guy, you're like, oh, I can take him. No, you can't.
No, you can't. Yeah, it's like John Wick. It's like oh, sorry. It's type of thing. So okay, so look, I gotta ask you. I forgot to ask him this question. I got off the interview and I was like, damn, I forgot whose idea was it with the crossbow? Because that thing is freaking awesome. The crossbow that he uses, that thing is badass. He whips that thing out. I'm like, can you use that through the whole movie, please? Because I'm sold. That was dude, what was it? Just hey, here's a crossbow, or was it hey, we need something with sass? Let's do this.
That's a fantastic question. So that was in the script when I got it. So
okay.
I don't, but it very well could have been, whether it was Chad writing it initially, or it could have been Scott coming up with it, or Daniel, or whoever coming up with it before I showed up. But when I read that, I was like, yeah, we've seen guns. I mean, we see in these films, but to pull out a crossbow and because you're the best of the best, so let's you're definitely gonna pull this off. And it was wild. It was a fun one.
It was basically because if you use a crossbow, you're basically saying, I'm going to kill you, which is because I don't need another shot. So that's what makes it cool. Yeah, because if you got 50 rounds in your mag, it's okay, one's probably going to hit something sooner or later. But it's you use a crossbow, it's you don't hit the first time. It's you need to reload. It's that's why it's so badass. That's why I love. You don't see it enough either. I don't see. Yeah, I need to see more or just sweet bows and arrows and stuff like that. So yeah, so absolutely.
No, those were fun. We shot it through windows. We shot it. Hit different things. Yeah, it was a wild one. And then I don't want to give too much away, but he leaves it down the ground, but he makes sure he goes and picks it back up.
Yes. I was like, go get it. Don't leave it. Yeah, please. That costs money. It's it's type of thing. Now, of course, Scott started. Now, of course, Stephanie Barron, and I did my research, and I was like, these two are married. So that's kind of because like, and that's just, and I knew that before I watched the movie because I did my research. That's so cool because I was talking to him and I made the joke like, you know, I'm divorced. Obviously, I didn't get it right, but it's just funny how in the scene where she's in the car, Michael J. White's in the middle, and he's over there, and she's like, you didn't apologize. And she's like yelling at him, and he's just kind of like coming back, and Michael's just there, like, are we gonna do this or what? I love that scene. That's one of my other favorite scenes in the movie.
It is, you know, that's the one thing. It's like a lot of these films, like you're just action, 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 and it's like, no, there's got to be those downbeats, and you got to care for these characters, and the fact that, like, you know, him not apologizing for, you know, you can watch the film to see what he's not apologizing
so
for.
Funny. It's funny. Yeah.
And Michael just being this straight-laced guy in the driver's seat, just like, enough already. Just,
yeah. He's like, can we go now? Can we just people?
You know,
yeah.
You two just take off. I'll take care of this situation. So yeah, no, the chemistry between those two, because yeah, that was you know, you can see why they're married. There's definitely chemistry between those two, and you know, the joking back and forth and the subtle little, you know, knife digs and things like that.
Right.
It was a blast.
And that goes back to Chad the Man Law, you know, because like he's been such a great guy. And actually, he was my very first interview for my site. Like he was the first guy that said yes to an interview on my site. So that's pretty. And
really?
Yeah, and I've been a big supporter of his. But that goes to how good of a writer he is, because you take at first they're bad people, like all these guys, like, you know, she's bad, Michael J. White, you know, of course, you know, like Scott's character is like kind of the anti-hero type, you know, thing. But then like the way he writes it, I don't want to really give stuff away, but you start liking these people when you're like, I probably shouldn't, but they're growing on me type of thing.
Yeah, and Chad's, I mean, there's not a better writer in this action world than Chad Law. There's not, and I'm not, you know, he's my brother. Like so, we've written.
I love him. He's the greatest. Yeah,
probably 10 films together and made, I think, 5. And my next film's with him, and I think my next 2 films are with him.
Awesome.
So he just gets it. So again, going back to like when I stepped on, and I was like, oh, Chad wrote, okay, well, I'm good, because a lot of times I'll have to sit down, and if I take something on, then I'll rewrite it to fit locations or fit things, or, you know, fit my sensibilities. And Chad's, he's just so easy. I mean, and that's why a lot of these guys, you know, Christian Sesma and a lot of these guys, you know, they keep working with him again and again. And he's just the best at what he does. And it just makes everybody's world so much easier. And he writes action so well, like it feels like ballet. In a sense. And you know, and it's not always serious. You know, he and I have another film coming out. It's actually a campy horror film, and it's probably Chad's, like, it's a true comedy almost. It's a horror film, but it's like Kenan Thompson produced it, called Halloween Store, but it's comedic. So yeah, you know, I look forward to seeing what Chad does for the sequel for this one.
Oh, I would love to see, like, I would love to see these guys again. Now that brings, like, you brought up like the next movie is like, you know, more of a comedy or horror. Now, like, you do different shots, like I'm looking like he did a movie called The Christmas Classic. You know, now it's like Exit Protocol, The Christmas Classic. It's like, do you have to like flip a switch or go into different mindsets, or is it just a job? It's like, okay, it doesn't matter if it's action, it doesn't matter if it's a family Christmas movie. I'm here to do my job, and I'm going to do the best job that I can.
Yeah, it's funny because I write a lot of these. So, you know, I'll write thrillers. I mean, I started in Southern Gothic dramas, so to speak.
Right.
Wentworth, The Gray,
Yeah.
these things that are just dark Southern. And then it moved into thrillers and then action. And I've never done a comedy before, so I wanted to do those. So, you know, I'll write an action film, and then I was like, okay, I got to get out of this headspace. So let me go do a comedy right then, or let me do, you know, something else. And that's you know, what's, you know, the next one, Chad, you know, we just, you know, my last 3-4 films in a row. So I did Exit Protocol, straight action, then we went campy horror. Now the next one's like a survival thriller, and then after that's, you know, another like campy horror film potentially. So we're trying to, you know, it's a fun it's fun to jump around, so to speak, that I'm not pigeonholed to just do. Again, I love action, absolutely love it, love watching it, love making it. But then again, I'm in that headspace, and it's good to like go do a World War II film, which I did, you know,
right,
things like that. that I, it's great to jump around and have the option to jump around.
Absolutely, and so like, of course, I got to talk about the action because that's what we're here for. We're here for the now. What I love about this, like, because you got fisticuffs, you got firepower. Like I said, my favorite scene is at the end because like, and he actually mentioned that was just kind of put together like in a quick amount of time, which was pretty cool because that's a solid fight sequence. Like the fight, and his trainer was the one he was fighting in that scene, and he mentioned that too. So that was kick. But I also like in the forest by the cabin. He's popping out of the ground and stuff like that. So talk about how you keep it fresh and like because again, action fans like me, we've seen a lot of action movies. Like I've been watching action movies since I was 4. So it's like, how do you like go about it? Like, of course you got Dolph, you got Michael and everything, but how do you go in? Of course you got the stunt coordinator, so that's more of their jobs and everything. But how do you go into like keeping it like, okay, let's do something so that way people when they watch is like, you know what, that was a good action.
Yeah, for me, great question. So for me, it's always about, I hate you get in a fight scene and all of a sudden they pull out a chainsaw or something. It's like, where the heck did that come from? So it's got to be based on, what Scott initially worked out before I showed up. It was long and elaborate and many beats, and it was like its own act by itself. And then Rooster, our fight choreographer who I work with on The Best Man, and he's amazing. Like he just breaks it down. Okay, Scott, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are how can we? And then what's our location? So when things are pulled up, we we know what we can do. What's whether it's a weapon there, like does the weapon make sense that's there, or I go back to The Best Man where they're shooting bazookas down. The first one, they had tanks and bazookas and all these things in the original draft. And then I came in and realized, like, no.
I remember that. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. So the same thing with this one, there were a few items that were in the initial draft. I was like, it doesn't make sense. And it might have made sense if we had a different location, but based on the location, let's use what we have. Is as long as they're not bringing it, or like a crossbow into the scene, like, so let's use what we have and build that up. So yeah, no, that was a blast. And this film, everyone says they had, we wish they had more days, but like this was one where we were battling not just the time, but there was a wildfire there in New Mexico. So there were certain scenes they said, we thought we had 2 days at one location. We ended up having like 3/4 of one day because of the fires. We had to evacuate. The scene at the airport, just different things that had to deal with. And then a week later, once we left, the cabin burned down that we shot in. A lot of locations, those cabin woods area burnt. A lot of that town burned down. So we were just fighting the elements, and it's hard enough to make a film with this much action, but throw in like, okay, you thought you had this much time, but now you have 1 day less. So to do these sequences.
And that's what, I'm impressed enough, like, because that's why, like, indie action, like, I know, because you guys, limited amount of resources, budget, time, and what you guys pull off is amazing. And that's why, like, you guys are sick in your skills and what you can do. Like, because anybody, like, if you have 2 weeks to shoot a fight scene, I'm like, yeah, that was a great fight scene. But like, I'll talk to Scott Atkins. He'd be like, yeah, we had an hour. I'm like,
yeah,
looked pretty good to me. So it's like,
it's trusting, it's trusting the actors that they can pull this off. Scott, Dolph, these guys, and it's trusting the fight choreographer. And, it's not just, can we pull it off, but like, can we do it safely? Like,
right. Absolutely. Yeah.
The Best Man, and we had 10 days to shoot that film, and we're jumping off roofs and fighting in casinos. And then this one we had 12 days. So
like not even 2 weeks. That's like, that's not even 2 weeks of shooting time. You have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, it's insane. And but it's, you jump up and like, I threw myself into the fire and just trusted the people around me. And, the young director in me wouldn't have like, no, this is how we're going to do it. I've seen enough fight scenes. We're going to do this, and this. It's like, No. Trust the choreographer and trust the actors and trust the people around you. And that's what with the experience, that's what I've gained.
Absolutely, yeah. So like again, like that's why you have a crew. It's like, yeah, you're the director. You're there to put all control all this organized chaos, that I like to call. But yeah, that they're there for you to make this all work. So you got to let them do their job.
Yeah.
So
100%. And that's why I love these action. I love these action films. I always say, show me something I haven't seen or something that feels different that we can do. And
the opening sequence was cool too. The bullet, that was pretty rad. I was like, he takes a shot, then the credits go with the bullet. It's kind of like Matrix style, So because again, he's there to kill somebody. That's not a spoiler, but how you do it and then put the credits into it, that was pretty cool too. I was impressed by that as well.
Yeah, that was awesome. I can't take any credit for that. That was
that's okay. No worries.
And that was a blast. It just really, it's cool. And that mansion we shot in there, I couldn't really show a wide shot of the house because the fires were in the background.
Wow.
So it was you see the edge of the frame was like the edge of the mansion there. And it's like, man, this is such a beautiful multi-million-dollar mansion. You want to show the scope of it, and you're like, no one wants to see the fires.
There's wreckage behind trees and burnt trees and stuff like that. So that's what's again. I gotta let you go here in a couple minutes, but thank you for the time. But like I said, indie movies are hard enough to make, but then you throw that in, and that's even. Did your blood pressure go up at all? You're like, okay, it's hard enough to do this, but it's now you got forest fires and stuff to deal with and stuff like that.
Yeah, you just kind of roll with the punches, and
just be positive, right? Just be like, yeah, we'll get it done. It's okay.
Yeah, we're gonna figure it out. That's what, for me, I started as a writer, so okay, we don't have to shoot what's on the page, but give me 20 minutes, and I'll go write something that we can make this work. Okay, we had to cut this short. Okay, unfortunately we have to miss this big action sequence, but it's that whole Indiana Jones thing. The guy shows there with the whip, and he's like, Indiana Jones pulls out his gun and it's like, okay, I'm not gonna fight you. I'm just gonna shoot you.
Right.
And a few times I think that's kind of what we had to do. And this one, The Best Man, and others. And it's it's either that or you just don't get the film shot. So you do with what you can, and being a writer myself, it definitely helps to be able to pull this off, or to call Chad and say, hey, here's our situation. I'm shooting these other scenes. Give me the scene. This is what we have.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I gotta let you go. It's always a joy to talk to you. I'm sure we'll talk again in the future when you do something. I don't think I'm gonna do the Christmas classic with you, though. I don't think my viewers would. But I will when another action project comes up. But tomorrow, Friday, November 7th, Exit Protocol. Not only has it got Dolph Lundgren and Michael J. White, but again, I anointed Scott Marin. He's the next. He's legit. He's the next action star. And so you, sir, one of the go-to guys that anytime when I see Chad Law wrote a movie, or I see your name now, I'm like, okay, I'll get the emails and stuff like that. I'll be like, say no more. Let's go. Let's do this. And you never disappoint. And I said, and then with the problems you had and everything, it's even more spectacular with what you accomplished. So success with this one, and hopefully maybe we'll see Sam down the road in more adventures, because I'm in. I would totally be for it. So closing comment, just what do you want people to get out? I know you get to ask this a lot, but I always usually when I talk to directors, what do you want them to get out of it, in terms of other action related movies?
The biggest thing with this is just be entertained. Just don't, we're not trying to win the Oscar here. We want to entertain people, and that's when you start out as a filmmaker, he's like, oh, I want to be on the Oscar stage. Then you'd make a couple of films. No, I care more about just entertaining people. I want them to go in and just okay, I haven't seen that before, or that's fun. That's this sequence, this fight sequence is a blast, and to see these people, Michael J. White and cracking jokes, and Dolph and everybody, and just have a good time. Don't take this too seriously. Just go in knowing that you're going to be entertained. And that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. So again, you got my support, like I said, and in the future, can't wait to talk to you again. Success with the movie when it comes out, success with all the other interviews that you're going to be doing for it, and we will talk again, sir. All right.
Perfect. Thanks, John. Really appreciate it.
And tell Chad I said hello. I'll message him too later, but tell him I said hello. Okay.
I'll do it. All
right. Have a good one, sir. All right.
Thanks, John.
Not even God will protect you in here.
Turn around. Put your weapon down.
I could have killed you outside the church before you came in.
Got a deal for you. You walk away and live.